What is going on, fellas? And welcome back to the Journeyman with me, FoggyPlays, on FM22. Today, it is the end of season review, where we still have our job currently, even though at the end of the last episode you would have seen we didn't do very well. So we're going to run the intro, we're going to come back, we're going to start the end of season review. So as is always the way, we start with the new arrivals. A lot of these players came in before we arrived, so we don't have an awful lot of affiliation with Raphael. Like, the fact he wasn't allowed to play at all, very frustrating. I think he could have potentially been a game changer for a lot of the games, because he is quite a good centre back. None of the players are going to get signing of the season because none of them have that little star alongside him. I don't think any of them really deserve it. Jorgensen is probably the only player that was. Brendo played quite well as well. Kakatiore in parts was decent. Rodriguez and Doku, especially. Doku was such a poor signing. Still believe he's a wonder kid, so there's a chance. They wanted us to qualify for the Europa Conference League. We only achieved a top half finish. Did almost sell out the stadium, which we're getting a new stadium. We're getting our new stadium in July. So next season, if we're still here, we'll have the new stadium. It is really unfortunate. We were so close. So close. Let's have a look at moments to remember. Probably isn't a huge amount. Europa League, before we arrived, match to remember. That was actually a game that we were in charge of, which is fantastic. Match to remember was us, and goal of the season was before we arrived as well, because that's got sent off after 10 minutes in that game, and we still managed to win. That's pretty good. Finance wise, not looking great. Sponsorship money has dropped. Broadcast revenue has dropped. Corporate and hospitality, just a little drop. We've increased competition prize money, and match day commercial and retail has increased ever so slightly. The players that have given us the most, have sold the most shirts: Pessina, Sotil, Jorgensen, Chacon, and Valentini. Pessina's potentially leaving. Valentini is potentially leaving. And Sotil didn't get a huge amount of game time, because I didn't think he was that good of a player. So players, Kral, player really didn't want to leave, and Sanchez also left. So that is interesting. That those Cardamone 6.61 gets him into the team of the season at right back, having played 16 games. Fair enough, I guess. That's quite disappointing. You can kind of see, like, the midfield and centre backs were pretty decent, but Finance player of the season was Pessina. To be fair, kind of deserved it, I guess. He's been quite good, but at the same time he did miss. He kind of fell away a lot, and he kind of just disappeared for a lot of games. Young player of the season went to our up and coming striker Ferraro. Goal of the season, as we saw, went to Sotil. Top goal scorer was Ferraro with 18. Hoping that next year he'll step up and become the striker that I know he can be. Most assists went to Ugarte. Most player of the matches went to Ferraro with 6. Highest average rating went to Sotil with 7.1. Youngest player was Fimura, 15 years, 145 days. I think he played the week he signed his professional contract with the club, whatever it was. It wasn't his professional contract, but any players that made it in to the first team: Ferraro, Kral, and Odero are all on the bench. But we do have Pessina in there. Male is playing for Inter Milan now, which is fantastic. Delighted with that. We've already looked at the end of the season review. Don't care about players that were here before we arrived. So what they want us to do for next season, because we're going to be without Europe or any European football, which is not ideal. High tempo pressing, which is what we've been doing. Develop players using the club's youth system, which we've only just arrived, so it's not much time. We haven't had a huge amount of time to do that yet. Play entertaining attacking football. Some players under the age of 23. Make the most of set pieces, which we didn't really do this year. Sign players under the age of 20 for the future. Okay. Sign young players to develop for profit. Hopefully the Director of Football does that. minimum 3-year contracts, and maintain, or for first team players, maintain the best youth system in the country. Also qualify for the Europa Conference League. I'm aiming for at least Europa League this season, but I'll accept all of that. Atmosphere support is fine. End of season team meeting. Improve things even further. Not wholly satisfied with efforts to implement a definitive style of football. That mentioned that over the off season we'll be looking to bring some new faces in. Disappointed that we didn't qualify, but I have faith in everyone. Yeah, because I've heard 4 of my players. I don't think I'm being unrealistic. That's the sort of reaction I was after, I guess. Promises. What's your terms? That's one fantastic way to get the players delighted, is just say, here, we're going to play more youth players. For some reason, everyone loves it. So it's fixed some of the players a bit. Dressing room atmosphere has increased a small bit because of it. Managerial support still meh, but that's fine. It's grand. I always find it interesting who's missed the most of the season. Actually, to be fair, not a huge amount. 23rd of July, we'll be back. So the lads actually get a decent amount of time, like 2 months. Chiesa wins Player of the Year. Mere wins Goalkeeper of the Year. An award I can vote for, which might as well just do it now. I'm not on the list. Why am I not on the list? I am going to vote for Zanetti, because he had the worst. Bunch of awards that have been given out to people that are on my shortlist, I guess. Because when a player gets scouted, they're put on my shortlist. So I get a lot of emails. So that is everything to do with the end of season review. We have some transfers agreed already, but I'm going to bring you back for the full transfer roundup in the next part of this episode. So sit tight. We'll be back in just a hot second to look at all of that and see how we get on in the transfer market. I do have a lot of players that are probably going to be leaving. It's quite a number of players that have interest in them. Hopefully Rafael is actually going to be allowed to play next season, because the non-EU rules, but I do suspect we're going to lose some of our non-EU players anyway. Not that we have that many. I do think that we have one in the under-20s that's leaving as well. We do have a lot of random players that are leaving. Where is the dude that's on loan that is out the gap? There's somebody, maybe he's in the under-18s. There's somebody who was loaned out and he is leaving. And he's a non-EU player. So I'm guessing we're going to get a slap back for him. Or are you not non-EU? Oh no, he's Italian. Okay, he's leaving. I thought we were going to be getting a non-EU slap back for him, but obviously, turns out we're not going to. I think there's a rule where you can sign 2 non-EU players a season, and then a third if one non-EU player gets sold. We'll have to wait and see what happens. Italian rules are confusing. So like I said, we will be back in just a second with the roundup for the transfers. Hopefully, it'll be a decent season, or a decent summer, because we do need it. We're very, very, very in need of players. Very, very in need of players. Fantastic. Don't have that many players that are actually over 30, but we have a lot of players that are like mid to late 20s, which is not ideal. But we'll see what the Director of Football does. Hopefully it'll be something worthwhile. We'll have to wait and see. Probably going to end up losing the majority of our good players and having to replace them with dross from our under 20s and under 18s. Let's hope that doesn't happen. So we will be back in just a second, like I said, to look at the transfers. So don't go anywhere. So fellas, after many hours of clicking continue, we have made it to the first game of the season. We're literally about to kick off against Sampdoria, but that'll be tomorrow's episode. We're also going to be taking on Lazio, who got beaten by, I think it was Juventus at their first game. Yeah, they played yesterday, I think. But as you can see, we've had a successful pre-season, shall we say. Apart from the defeat to Juventus, we went to Indonesia and smashed every team there. Then we did a little tour of my local area, Cork, beating Blarney, Cove Wanderers, Bandon and Rockmount. I did want to play Cork City. They were unavailable at the time. And we just beat Napoli in the most recent friendly. So, friendly-wise, things have gone pretty well. That was a very strong Napoli side we played against as well. I didn't manage it, but it was a strong Napoli side. So, season expectations so far, haven't checked this in a while. Still expect us to finish 7th, and we don't have any players in the Dream 11. According to this, our best player is Ferraro and Ugarte. Interestingly, Ugarte probably won't be with us for too much longer. We have had a bit of a time when it comes to players going out. Ugarte is currently under offer from Monaco. Came to me and said he wanted to leave, but got annoyed when the offer got accepted by the director of football because he doesn't want to leave, which we promised we wouldn't sell him, but then he came to me and said he wanted to leave, so we accepted the offer, and now he's annoyed because he doesn't want to leave, but he wants to leave. FM, you need to sort out this weird stuff that's happening. Cardamone is also complaining that he wants to go on loan. He was going to be probably our starting right back this year. Vitesse look like the club that are going to be taking him. Pak and Panathinaikos, I'm not sure why those got rejected. I guess they weren't what the director of football wanted, but for some reason Vitesse. Yes, but actually I can kind of see why. Paying more of his wages, or paying all his wages, and we're getting more, so that's fantastic. Alex Martinez, unfortunately, has gone out. I'm not going to show you the ins because we have a couple of players that are potentially coming in, and I don't want to give it away in case they don't arrive, because we've already had a couple of players reject us, which is very frustrating. Whenever a player comes, whenever the director of football throws an offer on a player that another club is in for, generally we don't win the race to sign said player, and they go somewhere else because the director of football lowballs everybody unless they're not very good. Then he throws all the money in the world at them. So we're going to have a quick look at the players that have left. So 103 million, as you can see, quite a substantial amount of players have left. So Victor Christiansen has gone to Sociedad for 6 million. David went to Espanyol. These two guys arrived and went straight back out on loan to the clubs they signed from. Popsu is back because he tore his cruciate ligament, I think it is. Damaged cruciate ligaments. We brought him back from his loan, but he's a 5-star potential Romanian winger. Any other important players have left? Bastoni went to Genoa for 1.7 million. Then Emilio Martinez followed Christiansen to Sociedad a month later for 15.75 million. Way under his value. At the time, I think there was like 25. I think Spurs offered 25 million in January for him, so we've lost out on a decent chunk of change there. The director of football just chucking a bunch of players out on loan. Helberg, who was going to be, because of all the players that left, all the left backs that left, he was going to be in and around the first team. And then Carlush came in and offered 1.6, and the director of football went, "Oh, thank you very much." This guy was a non-EU player, so I was kind of happy that he left. He was on the transfer list anyway. He went to Ascoli, recently promoted Ascoli, for 2 million. Blanchard potentially was going to get some first team football. He's gone out on loan, so that's fantastic. That's exactly what I was looking for. You know, a player who was probably going to get some first team football has left. And then the big players, the big names started leaving. The first team players started leaving. Casas was upset that we didn't make Europe, so he went to AEK for 24 million. He is now valued at 44 to 63. So as you can tell, made a lot of money on that. We also lost money on from the purchase, because I think it was like 15 million we lost on him. I would click on these players, but they're going to take so long to pop up. Baturina was a player that had potential to get into the first team. He was kind of attacking midfielder / striker / winger. I thought that maybe give him a chance. He's an Australian who's also an EU. I think he's Croatian. Maybe not. Maybe something else. He was potentially going to get some first team football. Instead, he decided to go to Turkey. Berisha is a player that you saw a couple of times last season. Spent most of the time on the bench as like just a backup centre back. He's gone on loan, which is fantastic because we were very short on centre backs. Tanko, who you might remember played a decent amount of games. He's gone to Palermo on loan for the season. Fiorenza was a player who had 5-star potential, like he's down to 3.5-star now. The Direct Football sold him for 150k potentially. As you can see, worth nearly up to £1 million. So that's just fantastic. Akese went away to Bologna for 300,000. I got quite a number of questions from the media about this one. Like, why did you let him go? It's like, it's not my choice. So he left. As a party who was actually going to get some first team football, could have started today because of suspensions and injuries. He decided to go out on loan, which was again fantastic. Chris Edwards is a player we signed from Chelsea for 3.1 million. Non-EU, couldn't register him, so he got loaned to Benevento. Hopefully he's going to get some first team football. He looks a decent centre back, not amazing. Hopefully he does something. Pessina eventually got his move, went to Juventus for 24 million. As you can see, valued at 49 to 70. Fantastic. Everyone's delighted with that transfer. Fantastic. Valentini then got his move to Inter for 22.5. Yeah, 22.5 million. 39 to 56 million potential. Just strengthening our rivals, which is exactly what you want to be doing when you're struggling to get into Europe, as it was. The Direct Football also went off and signed some absolute dross. So that's all the players that are important that have left. The important players that have come in, though, Thomas Lazcano came in from Lens B team, which was interesting. Had 3 games for the first team and played quite a number of games for their second team. He is potentially second choice, non-EU. So that's frustrating. If you look at the reports, I can't really show it here. He's 3rd best goalkeeper. Yeah, you can kind of see it. But he has 4.5-star potential, which is quite nice for a 23-year-old goalkeeper. He's probably never going to make it. As you can see, emergency backup, but paid nothing for him. He's on decently cheap wages, so that's fine. Granada, don't care about him. Wallace is a decent looking striker / attacking midfielder. He's got absolutely no finishing whatsoever. He can barely pass the ball, but I think he could become something good. He is only 19 and on relatively cheap wages, so that is fantastic. Sasa Dokic, as I said, has gone out on loan. Kind of disappointed that the Direct Football accepted a loan back to Vojvodina, because I think he could have actually made it into like at least a bench player, but nope, he's gone out on loan. Samu Kaita is a right back who has 4.5-star potential, currently a 2-star player. Direct Football signed him to a regular starter, so he's going to be starting against Sampdoria. Giovanni Montero came from Real Madrid, and he actually played last year from Real Madrid. Only started 5 games, but still, he's been in their first team for a season, but still, 7.75 million, decent-ish looking player. This one is the one I'm most annoyed with. Morris Kotromaz, playing for St. Gallen, signed him for 8.5 million. The Direct Football agreed to loan him out once he arrived. He would have been fantastic. Like, I wanted him in our team straight away. He can play in central midfield as a winger or in the attacking midfield position. So yeah, that would have been quite nice to have him in the team, but we're gonna have to wait till next season probably. Then the Direct Football went off and just signed a bunch of free transfers who weren't very good. Then Juric, who's a decent centre midfielder, looks pretty good, if I'd say. If I do say so myself. Slovenian with 4.5 star potential. Horazal, I think he's back at Galatasaray. I forgot about him. This guy, 5.75 million. I was excited, thinking, hey, we're getting a right winger, because we're gonna tentatively starting with a wide formation. He rocked up. I was delighted. Went to pop him into the first team, and then noticed he was after being sent back on loan to Galatasaray. So that is delightful, because we're basically playing strikers as wingers, because that's pretty much all we have. Fabrice Ayuk has come in as a centre back option. He is from Grasshoppers, where he's played pretty decent amount of football. Hopefully, he progresses and hits his potential. We also signed Gattuso, who I think is going to be an option at right wing and left wing. He looks pretty good. He's performed decently well in pre-season, so hopefully he does something for us. He played a decent amount of games for Udinese last season. Played pretty much every game for Udinese last year, and they finished mid-table, so that's not too bad, I guess. Got a bang average midfielder to play for us, which I suppose is better than nothing. Daniel Pejza has come in from Sparta Prague as a, I'm guessing, just like a backup goalkeeper. Don't really know why we signed him. To be fair, he wasn't that expensive. Yeah, 675,000, not that expensive. D'Agostino has come in as a left back option. He is just a proper backup option. I think Doku, if he can perform, won't lose his spot to him unless Doku plays absolutely horrendously like he did towards the end of last season. And then another just absolute dross free transfer. This is the kind of free transfers that the Director of Football was signing. A bunch of Stoke and I think Middlesbrough rejects for some reason. We just signed them all. So I showed you the season preview already, expecting us to finish 7th. But if you look at the 11, it's not exactly how we're going to be lining up at the start of this season. But this is, no, it's not the right button. We are doing pretty decently, 58 million. We have made a little bit of a loss. I think the last month we lost like 4 million. So things could be better. We have sold a lot of players recently though. Still have 36 million in the bank, as you can see, at 11.6 million to start. But we, as you saw, we've 50 something million that we've made in transfers, and our wage budget decent. We've got like 400,000 to spare, which is fantastic. We do have a couple of players in the potential pipeline for coming in. Hopefully they do come in. So for the first game of the season, we're going to be starting with, which is going to be, as I said, not in this episode, it'll be in the next one. Odero is going to be starting as our goalkeeper. Kaita is going to be making his debut with Doku on the left. Rafael is going to make his debut after almost a year at the club. And Brendo is going to be playing alongside him. So is that 2 Brazilian centre-backs? Indeed it is. 2 young Brazilian centre-backs. Diego Silvestre and Jorgensen are going to be playing in centre midfield together. Shakan is going to be playing on the right, because we don't have a massive amount of right wingers who can play as like an inside forward inverted winger. We have a decent amount that can play as just playing wingers, and I don't really want that. Pasiri and Sutil are going to be our attacking 3 behind Kufal, because Ferraro is suspended and Cacciatore is coming back from an injury. So Kufal is going to get a chance to make his debut. So first game of the season, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 debuts. Has Pasiri ever played for Atalanta? He has not. This guy made it into the next gen 50, so I'm giving him a chance to see what he can do. I think Chelsea are interested in him. Yeah, Chelsea are interested, so piqued my interest a little bit. I was like, maybe this guy is actually pretty good. He's been given the number 32, so he's got Pessina's old number. But I'm going to start moving some of these players out of the first team, because there's not too much need to have them sitting in the first team, just taking up space. So that is all of the transfers we have done. And the transfer window closes on the 31st. So we have 5-ish days till the deadline is struck and we won't be able to sign any more players. So hopefully one of the players that the Director of Football is looking to sign hopefully doesn't come true, because I don't really want him. He's quite an expensive player and not an awful lot of ability. He's going to just be probably a backup option. So hopefully that doesn't happen. But knowing me, my luck, it will, because nobody else is in for him as far as I'm aware. So if you have enjoyed this episode, do make sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe. Let me know who you think is going to be the most important new signing we've made. Do you think we're going to miss the big players we sold, Casas, Pessina, and Valentini? And if Ugarte does leave, do you think we'll miss them? That is quite a substantial amount of our first team that's leaving, which is not ideal. So yeah, like I said, leave a like, comment, subscribe. It makes a massive difference to the channel, and I'll catch you in the next one.